Om. ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् रामो राजमणिः सदा विजयते रामं रमेशं भजे रामेणाभिहता निशाचरचमु रामाय तस्मै नमः रामान्नास्ति परायणं परतरं रामस्य दासोऽस्म्यहं रामे चित्तलयः सदा भवतु मे भो राम मामुद्धर समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम् Hari Om everyone. In the last class we had seen different aspects about Maya. It is Brahmashraya, it is not independent, it is deriving its existence from Brahman. Karyanumeya, it is inferred through its effects and so on. But whenever we discuss about the topic of Maya, we should always bring it back to us and see how it is playing a role in our life. Avarana Shakti and Vikshepa Shakti, in spite of having been told, in spite of having conviction logically that I am Brahman, yet I end up identifying with Ahankara. That is Maya. Because sometimes with the terms and terminologies, we start feeling that Maya is something different. It also becomes another Maya only. That is why our Bhashyakara, Bhagavan Shankaracharya said, Shabda Jalam Maharanyam, Chitta Brahmana Karanam. Means words should help produce the right knowledge, and that knowledge should help me get clarity about my true nature. Guruji beautifully summarizes this in one line. He says, many a times we campaign for Brahman, but when we vote for Maya. Means I have thoroughly analyzed, thoroughly understood how I am Brahman and what is Maya and everything. But when it came to facing my life or living my life on the strength of this knowledge that I am not Ahankara, that is when I end up voting for Maya. So that again and again we should keep thinking so that we don't, get swayed in that direction. Now this topic of Maya has come because Vidyaranya Swamiji, I see that the camera is blinking. That's okay, let it blink, we'll figure it out later. So Vidyaranya Swamiji has brought this idea of Maya because now creation topic has come. Right? Whenever creation is being described, how did this world emerge from consciousness? Consciousness, Sakshi, what we saw in shloka number 5, is nirvikara. It is without any modification. So how can a world which is constantly modifying have non-modifying consciousness as its substratum? There this point of Maya is introduced. Okay, so consciousness along with Maya becomes this Avarana Shakti and Vikshepa Shakti goes on to project this world. And this thought also we should have in mind, why are we discussing about creation? Why can't we just sit down in meditation and go into just knowing that I am witness of my thought? That could also be a question, right? Why are we unnecessarily bringing all this Avarana Shakti, Vikshepa Shakti, and then saying that creation happened in this way? And this question is true for any Upanishad that we see. Wherever creation process is described, there this question sometimes comes in our mind, why are we discussing about all these things? So there we should remember that Vedanta has promised us Atyantika Dukkha Nivritti. Not Dukkha Nivritti during some time, in some particular place, under certain set of controlled circumstances. Means when I'm seated in the seat of meditation, when I'm able to keep everything aside, then I say I am liberated or I say I am happy. Vedanta challenges that understanding of a seeker. So even when we are not at the seat of meditation, when we are interacting with the world outside, there again Vedanta says, let us inquire into nature of this world. That is where this whole discussion comes of creation process. So Atyantika Dukkha Nivritti will happen when I understand what is this nature of creation. Right? So not only when I'm at the seat of meditation, but also when I'm interacting. Both are necessary. Huh? We should not undermine the practice of meditation also. Neither should we make it as the supreme most thing and say that now the world has started to bother me because I have woken up from that seat of meditation. I don't know why I use the word woken up, but it is okay. So both have to go together. Knowing what is nature of Sakshi different from Ahankara, and also inquiring into what is nature of creation. That is where we were on this shloka. Srushtirnama brahma rupe satchidanandavastuni abdhau phenadivat sarva nama rupa prasarana. This shloka is like, the main central point. Wherever any acharya is going to talk about creation according to Vedanta, this shloka will be taken as the basis. So it's all this entire creation, Srushtir Nama Brahma Rupe. It is nothing but of the nature of consciousness. Satchidananda Vastuni. The substratum of this creation is Satchidananda. Vastu means that which is real, that which is of the nature of existence. It is to show that everything else is avastu rupa. Avastu rupa means only a appearance. It is not of same degree of reality as substratum. Abdhau phenadevat sarva nama rupa prasarana. In this ocean, so many names and forms are rising. There is a wave, there is foam and everything. All of that is only an appearance or a name and form of that same substratum which is water. Abdhau phenadevat sarva nama rupa prasarana. In the same way, this entire creation is an appearance of nama rupa in the substratum. So this is the literal meaning of this verse. Now we will go and see a little bit more about what this concept. So that second line is very easy to help, easy to understand because it's an example. Okay, so but we should pay close attention to what is Vidyaranya Swamiji saying here. Abdhau phenadivat sarva nama rupa prasarana. Abdhau means in this ocean, in this water, phena adi, all this foam and everything that is appearing. But it's not something else that has come from outside. It is the same water appearing as these things. Okay, so this idea we should have it thorough in our mind. What is the nature of creation according to Vedanta? Vedanta does not say creation was created at some time. Vedanta does not say creation is there, it is for having the same degree of reality as consciousness. But somebody might say, oh, you only said, in Vedanta there are so many Shruti Vakyas which say there was creation which has come about and so on. That portion is Adhyaropa portion. Adhyaropa portion means because we are seeing creation, Vedanta says we will explain how creation has come. And now that pramana, the valid means of knowledge to know what is the nature of creation cannot be our intellect. This we saw in the last class also, that intellect itself is part of creation. We cannot just by our intellect try to figure out what is this, origin of creation. I'm not going to the logical side of it because this text is not meant for that. But there is a logical side of the coin where the same thing is established through logic. Maybe later when we go into some shlokas, there we can take a little bit of that. But here we should understand what is Vedanta's conviction about creation, and which should become our conviction about creation. That is this one. That whatever we are seeing is an appearance, but it's not appearance hanging somewhere, appearance in consciousness. So having known the nature of consciousness, we should see this entire creation as appearing in ourselves. Because whenever we say nama rupa, whenever we say superimposed, right, it cannot be superimposed in nothing. It has to be superimposed in something. What is that something? That something is consciousness. Okay, so that is how we should look at this. And what has brought about this whole, variety and so many diverse things that we see around? What is the thing that has brought about this variety? We say it is Vikshepa Shakti. Vikshepa Shakti Lingadi Brahmandantam Jagat Srujet. So this example, more closely we look at it, more we will benefit. So this is exactly what Vidyananda Swamiji has said now. Okay, you see this scene, right? Now what are the things that we are seeing here? Vidyananda Swamiji says, well, you see Abdhav. In this ocean, you see Pena. Pena means foam. Then you see bubbles. Then you see that whirlpool might be there somewhere. A wave is coming up. All of these things are not something different but the water itself. Okay, so the substratum is water. So now, if you want to take, this is the example, right? Now, when we come to creation, what is it that Swamiji is saying? That this entire world, Lingadi, Vikshepa Shaktir Lingadi, Brahmandantam. Lingadi means this buddhi that we saw, all the way until several Brahmandas which are there. All of them are these names and forms, right? Which are there, that we are seeing around. Now, somebody says, how did you directly make this jump that consciousness has come from? I mean, the world has come from consciousness. We say, okay, let us go step by step. Even if we don't directly go to consciousness, at least this much we can take as an intermediate step, that this entire creation is made up of 5 elements. Right? It is nothing but 5 elements appearing in different names and in different forms. 5 elements alone are appearing as these different forms. Either gross 5 elements or subtle 5 elements, but they are 5 elements. So one step, if we want to take in between, whenever we think about how did creation come from consciousness, this is that intermediate step. Even in Chandogya, whenever creation is pointed about, it is pointed out as 5 elements first. So that is easier to understand, just like, from one clay, you are making different shapes and forms and everything. So let us say this 5 elements are there. From those 5 elements, we are making different kinds of names and forms. I'm saying clay here because I had kept it here for that Ganesha Murthy workshop. Mind, how it gets trained. Clay has to be here only, not anywhere else. So one intermediate step is taking it as 5 elements. Now comes the main part. Where did these 5 elements come from? Then we say those 5 elements have come from consciousness. Okay, that is this last, but consciousness along with Maya. Consciousness by itself is nirvikara. Whenever we say world has come from consciousness, we should add Maya to it. Whenever we say Maya creates this world, we should know it is not independent, it is Brahmashraya, dependent on consciousness. Now, the Shruti Vakya also we should keep in mind. From which Shruti are we taking this kind of thought process? This is not independent inquiry, right? We cannot just start saying that world has come from consciousness and so on. So Shruti says in Taittiriya Upanishad, Yato va imani bhutani jayante, yena jatani jivanti, yat prayanti, yadabi samvishanti. Means from where it has come, where it stays, and where it dissolves, that adhishtanam is consciousness. So with this in mind, lot of logic is used. What is guna, what is dravya? Can astitva be part of nama rupa, or does it be, or can it belong only to consciousness? All of that is logical part. But if we keep that aside, if we are having Vedanta as pramana, this should be a straightforward thing, but most importantly, it should help us in our understanding. Right? Whichever thing, name and form I'm interacting with, I'm interacting it with myself. Same Sakshi, it is appearing in this consciousness. Okay, that is this portion of that shloka. Abdhau phenadivat sarva nama rupa prasarana. And over here, in this example that we see, right? When we say, now I'm seeing the wave, how can I meet the ocean? Right? I'm only seeing the wave. How can I meet the ocean? It is said through knowledge, understand that wave is nothing but ocean. So even while I'm seeing the wave, if knowledge is clear, I know that it is only ocean water. Now, wave, whether it is there or not, ocean doesn't depend on wave. Right? Wave, whether it's a big wave or a tiny wave, ocean does not depend on that wave. It is the other way around. Wave depends on ocean. If wave is there, ocean has to be there. But if ocean is there, it can be without waves. What are those waves? Thoughts in our mind. Anytime a thought comes, this conviction should come that this thought is appearing in consciousness. Right? World, what we know it through thought only. So that thought we should hold on to and say, where is this thought appearing? So more and more we do that practice, more and more we realize we can disown the mind. Again, after having done sadhana, after having purified the mind, then this kind of inquiry is possible. But it is the same process. Just like when a wave comes, what is the inquiry? Can this wave be without water, without ocean? So when a thought comes, can this thought be without ocean? Hold on to the ocean, let go of the wave. If it rises, we know it is just a name and form arising in consciousness. So when we do this practice, gradually we realize thoughts quieten down. This is another way of quietening thoughts, inquiring into what is the substratum of these thoughts. More clarity we have about the process, easier it will be to bring this understanding. So in meditation, we should not do too much of thinking. I should have firm conviction that thoughts are appearing in consciousness. So nididhyasanam is not for analysis. Analysis is part of mananam. Okay, so that was the shloka. More we can dwell on it in some other text. Now Vidyaranya Swamiji says, I have explained about Vikshepa Shakti. What did it do? Lingadi Brahmandantam Jagat Srujet. What about Avarana? What has Avarana done to us? That is coming in this shloka now. Antardrugdrushyayorbhedam Antardrugdrushyayorbhedam Bahishcha Brahma Sargayoh Bahishcha Brahma Sargayoh Avrunotyapara Shaktihi Avrunotyapara Shaktihi Sa samsarasya karanam Sa samsarasya karanam Antardrugdrushyayorbhedam Bahishcha Brahma Sargayoh Avrunotyapara Shaktihi Sa samsarasya karanam. Now Vidyaranya Swamiji is talking about Avarana Shakti. What did Avarana Shakti do? Two powers of Maya. First we saw Vikshepa, second is Avarana. It has hidden the difference between Sakshi and Buddhi. Where? Inside. Antaha Drugdrushayoho Bhedam Avarana Shakti Avrunoti. That is the verb. Inside, now Vidyaranya Swamiji is using the language that we are familiar with. What is our idea of inside? We say inside this body. Outside means outside of this body. Now actually he doesn't want to use that word, but because we are familiar with it, it will help us if he shows the difference, what is happening outside, what is happening inside. That is why he is doing this difference. This first Avarana Shakti, what has it hidden? It has hidden my nature as Sakshi and the difference between Sakshi and Buddhi. Buddhi here we should take it as that, semicircle, Ahankara and mind. Antardrugdrushayor Bedam Bahishcha Brahma Sargayoho. Now we said the same consciousness is appearing as creation. But I don't see that as consciousness and creation, I see it as one. That difference between consciousness and name and form, that has gotten hidden outside. Even if you want to understand it in simple words, whenever we look at any object in this creation, right, it might be a laptop, a phone, and whatever it is, this thought never comes that it is name and form plus consciousness. That difference is hidden. Bahishcha Brahma Sargayoho. Avrunoti Apara Shakti. Apara Shakti, Avarana Shakti. Sa samsarasya karanam. There are so many beautiful points here. Vidyaranya Swamiji says the cause of our samsara is this Avarana Shakti, not Vikshepa Shakti. Right? So then we should think more about it. What is this hiding of Bheda, and what is this samsara? So all these points we will just take a look now. Avrunoti Antardugdashayor Bhedam Bahishcha Brahma Sargayoho. Avrunoti Aparashakti. That portion. Okay, so what has it done? It has hidden this difference. What is the first difference it has hidden? Between Sakshi and Buddhi. So our Avarana Shakti hides the difference between Sakshi and Buddhi. And this is the key word to note here. It doesn't hide Sakshi, nor does it hide Buddhi. It hides that difference between both of them. Avarana Shakti is not so powerful to directly hide consciousness. We misunderstand that consciousness mixed up with other things. So what does it mean here? I know that I am a sentient being, but I always think that this sentiency belongs to my intellect. Hiding is here, that hiding the fact that sentiency belongs to Sakshi and it doesn't inherently belong to intellect or buddhi. That is this hiding portion. Okay, role of Avarana Shakti between Sakshi and buddhi, it hides this thing. And when I see the world, it hides the difference between the world and the substratum, which is consciousness. It has not hidden the substratum. It has not hidden the world. It has hidden the difference between them. In what way? This entire world is known as existent, right? We know that it exists, asti rupena. Then only we can see it. Pair of a rabbit's horn, we know it does not exist. But when we see objects, we see that they exist. Now, what is the confusion here? We think that this existence belongs to objects. That is this bheda it has hidden. Existence belongs to consciousness in which this creation is appearing, which is name and form. I start feeling that this existence belongs to objects. This is that bheda. So what have we seen here now? Chaitanya getting reflected in buddhi, that difference gets hidden first, right? Means I start feeling this consciousness is an inherent property of ahankara itself. When we see the world, we start feeling that existence is inherent property of the world. World exists, there is no need of a substratum. Sat and Chit we have seen. Now you see, the most important part is Ananda, happiness. Happiness gets reflected in the mind. Whenever desires are fulfilled, mind becomes quiet. When mind becomes quiet, happiness, which is nature of Sakshi, gets reflected in the mind. But I start feeling that happiness has come from object outside. That is the role of Avarana Shakti. Happiness or Ananda is Swarupa of Chaitanya. It is not Swarupa of Jada. Jada means inert. But because of this Avarana Shakti, I start feeling I have to get happiness from some object outside. That is this whole hiding and misguiding portion of Maya. Okay, so I'm just wondering if I should cover the next portion also. If I take 5 minutes more, I hope it is okay. Now you all cannot respond from there, but I'll be quick in this. So this is the first portion, right? What has Maya done? Avarana Shakti, Vikshepa Shakti. Avarana's role is to hide the difference. Inside, difference between Sakshi and Buddhi. Outside, between world, which is name and form, and consciousness. And Vidyaranya Swamiji said, this Avarana Shakti is the reason for samsara. Now we have our own definitions of samsara sometimes, which is good. We should take that definition which hits the most to us. But we will see why this leads to samsara. Avarana, why it causes samsara. The result of this mix-up which is happening inside between Sakshi and Ahankara is this. Kartrutva and Bhoktrutva. Bhoktrutva and Kartrutva. Because the difference is hidden, I start feeling I am enjoyer. I am going to enjoy some object. Now, enjoyer means feeling of finitude. We should always replace that word. Enjoy does not always mean our colloquial sense of enjoyment. Being a finite individual going to experience anything is called as Bhoktrutva. And this difference being hidden also makes me think I am Karta. Means I am the doer of actions. This bhoktrutva and kartrutva is called samsara. Who am I originally? Pure consciousness, Sakshi. And because Avarana Shakti has come in between, I have started thinking I am Ahankara. Having taken that role, I think I am Bhokta, I am Karta. Outside, what has happened? Because the difference between consciousness and Nama Rupa, name and form, is hidden, I start feeling objects are for enjoyment. Bhogyatva has come in Srishti. Bhoktrutva is in Karta. Because inside this Bheda is hidden, there is Bhoktrutva. Outside this difference is hidden, there is Bhogyatva. And because of this, our cycle keeps going on and on and on. What Bhagwan said in Bhajagovindam, Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam, Punarapi Janani, Jatare Shayanam. Again and again we keep taking births. But the next line is beautiful. Iha samsare, same word, samsara. Iha samsare, bahudustare, krupaya pare, pahi murare. Means our prayer to Bhagwan is, may we realize what is happening here. Right? Having done sufficient sadhana, appearance of kartrutva, bhoktrutva is not the problem. Giving reality to it is the problem. Appearance of kartrutva, bhoktrutva means ahankara's appearance or appearance of this buddhi by itself is not a cause of bondage. Right? That is his point. Appearance of duality is not the real cause of bondage. Giving reality to that duality is the cause of bondage. That is why Vikshepa Shakti, Vidyaranya Swamiji said, it can stay. It will not bind us. Knowledge will only negate, the appearance of that. But this Avarana Shakti, not knowing the difference and thinking the second thing to be real, that is the cause of bondage. So we'll pause here, and so now one chain of thought is complete. Now Vidyaranya Swamiji in next few shlokas is just going to elaborate this and take us into the next topic of meditation. Okay, so that we'll do later when we meet next time. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Okay, these were some questions from last time. When we say Brahman along with Maya, if Brahman is all pervasive, then isn't Maya also Brahman? So why do we have to specify Brahman and Maya? True. Whenever we say Maya is Brahma Swarupa, it is from Brahman standpoint. Means from Brahman standpoint, when there is nothing else, then it is Brahman only. Right? Even Maya is Brahma Swarupa. So then from Brahman standpoint, we don't need to always say that there is Brahman and Maya. Brahman standpoint, there is nothing else, there is no creation also. From Jiva standpoint, because the Jiva is not directly able to make that switch, intermediate step is given, which is pointed out through Maya. Right? So you see our daily experience, right? Do we ever feel what I mentioned earlier, that these objects are having a substratum? Do we even think about that question? That this name and form which is appearing is not the same name and form as it looks to my physical eyes. There is something more in which this name and form is appearing. So directly we cannot make that jump. That is why from Jiva standpoint, intermediate step is, it is Maya. So we say there is Maya, which is this, name and form that is appearing, this object. And there is the substratum of it, which is Brahman. So in that way we should understand. From Jiva standpoint, it is Maya, Adisht, as a superimposed, and Brahman as substratum. From Brahman standpoint, it is only Brahman, there is nothing else. So when we do Nididhyasanam, we don't do Nididhyasanam as I am Brahman and then there is something else which is Maya or something. There Nididhyasanam, more conviction we get in I am Advaya. That is what we should do more of in meditation. Advaya means non-dual. Right? So from different standpoints it is pointed out. If appearance of creation is from our ignorance, does that mean that existence of the world requires a mind and buddhi? So in a universe with no such life, does it not exist? How is my experience of the world same as other persons? So we should be careful when we say this sentence, existence of the world requires a mind. Instead of saying existence of the world requires a mind, we should say perception of the world requires a mind. Existence requires consciousness, which is the substratum of even the mind. See, mind is part of the world. Again and again we should reinforce this thought that there is not a mind and then there is a world. Mind is part of the world. So perception of the world depends on the mind. There is no mind, there is no perception, like in deep sleep. But the existence of the mind and the world depends on consciousness. Okay, this is the first part. So whenever we say, Raman Maharshi, this is the favorite thing, okay, in Saddarshanam, this idea. So whenever we say world depends on mind, what we mean is perception of the world depends on mind, but the existence of the mind itself depends on consciousness. That is why secondarily we can say when mind is not there, world is not there. But we should understand in what way we are saying this. Right? If mind, its existence is derived from consciousness, ability to illumine is derived from consciousness. Okay, that is that first part. That when we say existence of the world requires mind. Now, second, what I understood from this question was, let us say there is some planet which is very, very far off in some galaxy somewhere. And there is no buddhi. Right? There is no person to know that thing. Then does that even exist? How do we say that existence of that object depends on this mind? So here we should understand existence of anything is proven only when it becomes known. Now that planet, whether you know its existence through a telescope or some satellite, whatever it is, it has to become known through 5 sense organs of this individual. Not only this jiva, any jiva, it could be another living organism also, but it has to become known to that individual pramata. So whichever object we say exists, it exists only when it becomes known. And this knower depends on consciousness. That is why we say existence of objects depends on consciousness. Nahi bhana drute sattvam narte bhanam chito chitah. Without consciousness, existence of a thing cannot be established. But we should know that consciousness directly cannot illumine inert objects. It needs an in-between medium which is called as mind or pramata, ahankara, buddhi, whatever you want you call. Subtle body is that in-between thing. Okay, so one side we have consciousness, another side, any object which is there, its existence is established only when it becomes known. That is why we say whatever might be there, in some distant galaxy and creation, it has to become an object of consciousness. Then only we can establish that thing. Okay, there was another question, which is a little longer question, but I think I should read it so that all of you get the background, then only the question will make sense. Understanding the rope snake example is quite simple because I am different from the rope. There is a rope and there is me. As an outside entity, I have made the mistake and under close examination come to true understanding that this is a rope and it is not a snake. But with regards to Brahman and creation, it is very different. This is a part of question. I am not saying this. With regards to Brahman and creation, it is very different. It is said that as Jiva, I am deluded and abidance in the knowledge of Jiva Brahma Aikya restores my true identity. Since Brahman is Ekam and Advitiyam, Jiva is not another entity. Referring to the snake and rope example, if the second entity is not present, it would be like saying that the rope was deluded and has not realized it is not a snake. Rope was deluded and it has realized that it is not a snake. True. So if we apply that same analogy outside, it is just like saying that rope is saying that I am rope and I am not snake. This doesn't seem possible, where in the case of Brahman. Why? Because delusion cannot be happening in Brahman, even with Maya or Upadhi, since it is the very repository of knowledge. If we say it is Jiva, Mahavakya has established its oneness with Brahman. It would seem like Brahman temporarily, as Jiva, got deluded by its own Maya, which is not possible. A magician gets deluded by his own magic act, his audience does. But here, there is no one other than Brahman who Maya can delude. So now the question comes, real question is here. Who is getting deluded? This question comes to us, right? Then it has opened a very big knot in our heart. If we are able to come to a point with thinking and say that ignorance cannot be established, Maya cannot be established, Vedantin says, you are on our side now. We are also saying there is only Brahman and there is nothing else here. But because the Jiva is seeing things, right? Jiva is seeing different entities, then Shruti Mata herself, gives this process of creation. But at the same time, we cannot dismiss whatever is said in Shruti. Means we should ask ourselves, are we seeing the effects of Maya in our life or not? That is why it is Karyanumeya. It is not Vichara Siddha. Seyam Bhrantir Niralamba Sarva Nyaya Virodhini. Whichever, when we start inquiring into Maya, it cannot stand its inquiry. Vicharam na sahateya. It cannot sustain this inquiry. Like who is getting deluded? Brahman cannot get deluded. And Jiva is an appearance, so how did Jiva get deluded? But we should understand that Vedanta is not only for intellectual gymnastics. Right? It is a very systematic stage of evolution in our thinking, that it will take us from where we are to that absolute state. So to start with, we say, Brahman who is thinking himself to be Jiva. Now himself is just, word I'm using. Brahman thinking itself to be Jiva is deluded. Our Swamiji used to use the word deluded Brahman. Brahman thinking itself to be Jiva is called delusion. Means what? Sakshi thinking itself to be Ahankara. That is what is called delusion. Now you say, how is this possible? You see for yourself. Right? Any Shastra that we take is taking this as the starting point, our own experience, what is happening here right now. But their goal is to point us to that absolute where we can hold and say that I alone am. Consciousness alone is, there is nothing else. So, in that way, we should understand that bondage is only because of lack of inquiry. It is not vichara siddha. But bondage is anubhuta. It is very much experienced, in our day-to-day life. That is why we start from that point. If we dismiss that, then this knowledge will not become our knowledge. Because somebody is saying, I am Brahman, or there is consciousness, world is appearing in consciousness, I might hear it, but I will not make it as my own conviction. And knowledge which is somebody else's is not helpful to us. Right? My sorrows will go when I do this inquiry, when I systematically build up my thoughts from where I am right now, and then own up my nature as consciousness. So that is why that word is very interesting, huh? Deluded Brahman, what Swamiji used to say. What that means is, because Brahman is getting deluded, only knowledge is sufficient. Means it is not something which has actually happened. Delusion can go away only with knowledge, but most importantly, it is at different degrees of reality. So there was another question here. Can ignorance and knowledge coexist in the same place? It can coexist because it is not of the same degree of reality. Okay, so that is the second part. And for whom is this realization? Realization is for that sakshi, which is thinking itself to be identified with buddhi. If you wanted to put it other way, you put it, if it helps in clarity. If you say realization is for jiva, what will be the understanding? Realization is for jiva with this clarity that I am not jiva, I am sakshi. Right? Jivatva which is appearing in me, that is only an appearance in pure consciousness. So in that way we should reconcile both aspects. Okay, I'm sorry I took a little bit more time. And I see a lot of questions here, which we will take later when we meet, not the next week, but the week after. Okay. Hope you all have a very good long weekend, Thanksgiving weekend, and also get to reflect on Drigdrishya Viveka, spend time with family, and stay safe. Okay. Hari Om, everyone. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hari Om.